nothing written down. I got nothing prepared.
That's actually perfect. That's going to work out really well.
Let's go.
This podcast was brought to you by the Magic Candle Company. Relive your favorite theme park memories through the magical sense of smell. Receive 15% off at checkout by using discount code DEBATE and help our channel in the process.
Welcome, everybody, to episode number 13 of Diz or That, a Disney debate podcast. My name is Justin.
And I am Chris, as always.
Today, we're going to be discussing two things that I feel like we both know a lot about, but at the same time, in a weird, intimate way, we almost know nothing about, because I don't believe either of us have stayed at either of these hotels officially, but have spent a fair bit of time in the lobbies and surrounding areas. We're doing a hotel battle. Chris,
we're doing a hotel battle.
What are
we're doing a
hotels
hotel discussion.
A hotel discussion.
Let's preface this here. So we can't really battle a place that we haven't stayed, right?
Yes, I think that there's going to end up being another one of these at some point in our lives.
I
in our
would
Disney
hope so.
Careers.
After we actually stay there, and I think we should do that. Do a back-to-back night, and then actually come back. We'll figure it out, but yeah, we haven't. I hate, as much as I hate to admit it. I mean, these are really the first two, right? I mean, these are the big ones. These are what Disney had in mind with Walt Disney World.
Yeah, 100%.
The Polynesian and Grand Floridian. Did we already say what we were doing?
No. I was trying to get us to reveal
the Grand Floridian and Polynesian. This has been the most requested in my mind. This is what I'm thinking most people have been
no actual
requesting.
fans have sent anything in, but this is the battle, man. This is the
battle. This is the one. When you're thinking of a Disney debate and a Disney hotel debate, I think people's minds are going to go to the two big ones, right? The two biggest, most important Disney hotels.
This is the most obvious. This is the most, like, if we are going to put two hotels up, you got to go with the biggest, you got to go with the best. I do think that there might be some pushback on if these are the two top or not. I mean, like, potentially, because you do have the Contemporary in there. It's essentially the big three. I feel like these two are the top two, but I think other people, maybe the ones who stayed there, might have some arguments against us there, but that's kind of a battle for another day.
Yeah, I'm interested. I would say they're the top two. Contemporary has, I think it has way too many haters to be really up there.
That's fair.
It's still part of the system. It's part of the Magic Kingdom monorail system. There's not a lot of options to have there's not any options where you can walk to the
Come on, man. I'm going to have to bleep that out now.
There is not many options where you can walk to Magic Kingdom. There's, in fact, only three options, and these are the three. So with that being said, we really, have these three to battle, and they can be the big three, but still, I think the big two are Polynesian and Grand Floridian, right?
I would probably agree with you. I think that at least in perception wise, I think that makes the most sense. I am going to be taking Grand Floridian today, and Chris is on the Polynesian. We've both done our homework on this. We've spent a fair bit of time in the lobbies of these buildings. I mean, it's hard not to, if you're kind of a Disney adult, it's hard to not do the monorail line, stop off at the restaurants. And if you aren't doing that, why are you not doing that? That's like a free day. It's not free, but it's like a free day on Disney property.
This is something we've done before. I've had friends come down, and we didn't even get park tickets. We parked at the TTC, and we just monorailed around and drank around the resorts. That's a huge benefit of these resorts, is that there's enough to do that you can stay all day and just having a good time. You're not buying a park ticket. You're paying for drinks, but you're still able to have a really good time at these places. And they're all really unique. Each, and that's something we can say, is that each of these resorts is incredibly unique to each resort.
Yeah, each of these three, I mean, all Disney resorts, you can argue if All Stars is counted as one resort or individuals, those are fairly similar. But as far as the monorail hotels go, three completely different experiences.
Well, there's a reason to stop at all of them.
Yeah.
As far as I'm concerned, I stop at and we'll go into this, but I stop at Grand Floridian when I'm looking to class it up a little bit.
Sure.
I get my wine at Grand Floridian. I go to Polynesian when I'm looking for a pineapple drink and a Dole Whip. And then I go to Contemporary when I want to feel like I'm in an 80s shopping mall. So
Yes.
it's really a really nice mix of these three places that we can enjoy and have a great time drinking, having a few drinks. But it's fun. It's fun. And Polynesian for me is always my favorite to go to drink at out of all of them. It really is. I think the bars there are some of the best. They also have, and I don't want to keep saying we're going to get into this, but we're going to get into obviously the options, the eating options there. But as far as like the available drinks that you have at the bars there, I think they're very vacation-esque. You can go get a drink, sit on the beach, and feel like you're in like a vacation world.
Sure. In a Polynesian environment, 100%.
Yeah, I mean, and that's, we've kind of talked about this too with Caribbean Beach.
Yeah.
Right. When I think of vacation, when I think of relaxing on vacation, I'm thinking of the beach. I'm thinking of a tropical situation, and we're looking at two different sides of the world here. But Polynesian, Caribbean, kind of similar in the sense that
Very
they're
similar
both
in that way.
tropical.
Yeah.
They're both tropical, and they both give you that sandy vacation beach vibe.
And that's fair. And that's a great point. That's a great point if that's what you're looking for. But for some reason, for me, Disney World trips, Disney trips in general, have always been a vacation that's very different than a beach vacation. I have been on a number of beach vacations, and they feel one way. A Disney trip feels another way. And to be honest, don't get your chocolate and my peanut butter. I don't really want them to mix. And I am not a beach guy. We'll go through that again. I'm not a beach guy. So that makes, me a little biased here.
You're not.
But at the end of the day, for me, if I'm going to be doing a Disney trip, I want an environment that I can't really get anywhere else. Polynesian is a great hotel. I can't say many bad things about it, right? But like when I pick where I want to be in an environment that I can't really get just on a different trip that somebody else might drag me to. A Polynesian vacation is very possible for us in the US. Like whether you're on the East Coast or the West Coast, it's a journey, but getting out to somewhere like Hawaii or some other Polynesian islands, it's very possible. So, but I don't know who else has sort of the grandiose architecture in scale that something like the Grand Floridian has with that sort of older Victorian style. You don't see it too much. You don't get an opportunity to like dive into that in a vacation realm, kind of like you'd be able to if you're staying at Grand Floridian.
It is definitely a unique, because it definitely is that old Florida type of feel to it. Old Florida money feel. And
I don't got money, and I want to pretend like I got money. I mean, if you're staying at the Grand Floridian or the Polynesian, you probably got to find it somewhere.
You have enough money. A lot of people will do like the one night just to do it.
Yeah.
But you got to have, most of the time you have to have the money. Not that you can't get it affordable, and affordable to one person may be obviously completely out of the range, but
sure.
For you can get Grand Floridian for close to 500 sometimes. I've seen it dip into the high fours on specific times of the year, really dead times, but fives. But generally, you're looking more so between 700 to 1200.
Yeah, that seems very, very typical.
And that's expensive for a night at a hotel.
Yeah,
it's incredibly expensive.
And you think about trying to do a week-long Disney trip plus park tickets plus everything else, that's an incredible expense. So the one and done sort of night thing, I think for most people is a very obtainable goal, but definitely can be expensive depending on what time of the year you're at. I don't know how, if you can kind of get hooked up with some DVC points or how that might work at some of these spots, but definitely an option if you have those hookups or you're down to rent and do that whole kind of DVC points thing. But expensive nonetheless.
It is very. I mean, both of these are. Both are the same. Same boat there. They're not cheap hotels by any means. You're spending an insane amount of money to stay at these places, which is fine.
And I think it's something we'll definitely have to be checking off the list. It's a bucket list thing to do, I think, for a lot of people. If I'm going to choose to stay at one or the other, man, I've done a few of these online room tours, and it's really hard when you're splitting hairs with some of this stuff, but the vibes that I'm getting at Grand Floridian feel a little more unique than anything else that I've seen anywhere else. I feel like the rooms are just a touch higher.
I like the rooms. I like the new Polynesian DVC rooms that they've been doing.
Yes,
I think
are those completed at this point, or are they still working on those?
I don't believe it's completely completed.
Yeah.
I think it's all under construction still, but those are really nice. But yeah, I mean, I both standard rooms I think are great. And for me, there's a two really big things that I really like about the Grand Floridian.
Mhm.
Well, one big topic that I like, but the rooms is not like my big selling point for it. I think Grand Floridian gives a feeling of a little bit too much sterility. It feels, is that a word, sterility?
It is now. Yeah.
I don't know. It feels very sterile. It feels like a very sterile environment. It feels like
feel your point.
I'm in the main atrium and I really don't want to sit down. Kind of sterile.
I feel your point. It's a lot of white walls. It's a lot of. I'm trying to pinpoint where it comes from.
Because a lot of the time, it's very, very white. It's very clean. It's very, it's built kind of like an old mansion, right? That's how it's supposed to look. So it's very clean in that sense. And when I'm going there, especially when I'm, doing my trashy drink around the monorail, I'm
he just feels like he's going to spill his red wine on something and get in trouble.
I may be, but I'm also sweating so intensely. I'm very, very wet. I don't look like I belong there. Where if I go to the Polynesian, I got my shorts and my flip flops on. It kind of makes more sense to me.
You're just you're just not high class enough.
That might be it. That might not. That could be it. That could be it.
So I win. Yeah, it's higher class, baby.
If it's a win or what, but it's definitely something. But what I will say about the Grand Floridian, which I really do like, is their Christmas tree.
I definitely wanted to bring up some of the stuff that goes on in the lobby. Christmas tree is one of them. I know that Polynesian does
a lot of the resorts really have some very amazing holiday decorations. So I'm not taking that away from any specific. They all do, but the Grand Floridian is pretty iconic for their lobby decorations.
Yeah,
they do, and they have the gingerbread house.
The gingerbread house was one.
Real gingerbread house.
The Easter eggs they end up doing
a lot in Easter. But that Christmas tree is you need to go to that resort to see that Christmas tree and Christmas time. It feels so Christmas, and you don't really get that a lot in Florida. You don't get a lot of Christmas feelings.
That's fair, especially as us as New Englanders. It's tough to find that because we're used to something maybe a little more particular. That does feel like old New England.
It feels like Christmas.
Yeah,
it feels Christmas. And Polynesian, you're not going to get that same feeling. You're not going to get that really beautiful Christmas feeling that we're used to. It's still amazing, right? It still looks amazing but I don't know. There's something special about the Grand Floridian that I think it's just done so well that makes it really, really special there.
That whole lobby really feels, when you walk into that lobby, I think more than any other lobby that I've been into, it's awe-inspiring. And especially at Christmas time, if you can see the Christmas tree or you can see some of the other activities and things that are going on. I think the Christmas tree is the one, though. It just feels lack of a better term, it feels grand. It is grandiose.
It definitely
is big.
Is.
It's it's not scary. It's not but sometimes when you see something that big, something that nice, the way that whole building is constructed, it just it puts a little bit of that awe in you.
Yeah.
And it's gorgeous. The whole architecture in that lobby is
done very,
incredible.
And both these resorts have, granted the Polynesian is kind of the 2-floor style, but is it 2 floors or higher? Polynesian.
The Polynesian? I'm not. In my brain, it's 2 floor, but
Yeah.
like I'm pretty sure there's more than that. Just like
No, I think it might be more. But regardless, they both have like this atrium style, right? Where you walk in and you have the walkways around, you look up.
yeah,
And I really like that aspect of these lobbies, which make them feel like you're in a really big, beautiful resort.
yes,
So those
Yeah.
are really nice. I like that you have the shops around, you have the eating options around, the atrium walkways. So I also like that you can get a Kona at Polynesian. I like that I can get a Kona. That's also really nice. It
That's
feels
high
nice.
up on his list.
I like Kona a lot, and I can get that there, and I can drink it there. I don't even know what I was talking about, but
You know what I think another great debate that we could have between these two, the scents of both of these spots.
oh sure,
The smells of both of these places are very, very
Sure,
unique.
sure.
Very unique resort smells. Some of the Disney resorts have slightly similar smells to things. I think that if we compare these two, these are the most dramatically different scents.
hmm
And if you want to get one of those scents and smell that at your home every day, you can go to the Magic Candle Company. Make sure to use our discount code DEBATE for 15% off your next order. Chris, let's learn a little bit more about the Magic Candle Company.
Magic Candle Company themed fragrances allow you to capture the smell of your most cherished vacation memories. Set sail on a swashbuckling pirate adventure. Transport back to the tropical atmosphere of a beautiful South Pacific themed resort. Relive the excitement of a fun-filled day spent on your favorite dark water rides. Soar above a California orange grove. Embark on an exotic river cruise adventure. Recall that first bite of your favorite frozen pineapple treat. Escape to your favorite rocking chair overlooking a murmuring creek as you soak in the splendor of the great outdoors. Enjoy the scent that's beloved by foolish mortals and happy haunts alike. Or even recapture the nostalgic aroma of being a kid again, watching your favorite Saturday morning cartoons. All of this and more is just a click away. Visit MagicCandleCompany.com and escape to your happy place today.
Receive 15% off. Discount code DEBATE.
Hopefully you bought some candles. Maybe use that discount code
debate
DEBATE.
is
15% off.
It is. Yep.
I really, really love the smell of the Grand Floridian. It has been one of my favorite scents to spray here, and because I got the spray versions, not the candle versions.
You have the spray. You have Grand Floridian with you right now.
I do. It's just out of my reach. I would have to get up to go grab it, but I have both of them sitting right over here.
Oh, do you
Polynesian,
really?
Grand Floridian. I have a
didn't know
lot
that.
of the hotels. There's a few that I don't have, but I will be getting in the next little bit, my next order from them. But I ended up purchasing a bunch of different hotel scents to try to compare and contrast. And there's definitely similarities between a lot of them. But again, like I was saying before the break, these are probably two of the most different scents that you can have. The Grand Floridian,
Different vibes, right?
And it completely is. And I'm happy that there are, because when you kind of go to some other hotels that don't have as strong of a theme, you don't get as strong of a difference in scent, I think. With these two,
Yeah.
vastly different. There is a very like clean, prim, proper scent of the Grand Floridian. It's very, very distinct to that, and it just has that like Victorian vibe, where on the other side you have the Polynesian scent, and it has this like sweetness level. I don't want to say that it smells exactly like pineapple, kind of being cooked, but
Well,
it
I'm sure
definitely has some of that
that's-
in there.
Yeah, some type of tropical-esque, island air type of scent to it, right?
It definitely has that.
It gets you into the vibe. And you're staying at Polynesian for a reason, right?
Sure. Yeah.
You kind of want that scent. You want that
You're
smell.
in the
so
theming. Yeah.
I get that for sure.
Two
But
very different scents. Polynesian is a great scent, and I know that tops a lot of people's lists for just even the Magic Candle Company scents, but resort scents in general. But there is something just about the Grand Floridian scent that, like, when you walk into that building, you know it's money. you know what kind of money you spent to
Yeah.
be at this place. And it's kind of a
Yep.
nice feeling. Very proper, very
Definitely is.
prim, very clean and cleanly. And I like that. I like it.
Yeah. They both smell good. I mean, they're not gonna mess that up. They're not gonna mess that up, right?
One would hope, right? Yeah. But I can say contemporary, probably the least of my favorite of the three big ones as far as scents go.
We should have just
Done all
taken this
three.
time to just talk about the contemporary and just to say things that we could do without at the contemporary.
I am almost like, it's tough. I think there are a lot of good points. I think there's a lot of fans of the contemporary, but there was a moment in this where I was like, are we just gonna like smack talk the contemporary for
Oh man, I don't even want
while.
to bring that talk about the contemporary right now, but we already got there. But not my favorite. Not my favorite.
And I see why people feel that way. I feel like it is a very unique hotel. I feel like it's very cool.
It is very unique, but it still feels like you're in a shopping mall.
I 100% agree with the sort of liminal space, like 1990s, 1980s shopping mall thing.
And the rooms being the Incredibles are...
Oh, is that a thing? I did not know that.
Yeah. Yep. The contemporary... It's a choice, right?
That's interesting. That's weird. I didn't know that. Okay, that's just another thing to... Oh, boy. Okay.
And they do have some really good thing like the California Grill where you can watch the fireworks on the roof. I think that's some really, really nice aspects of the contemporary. But I think if you're deciding between one of these three, easily you're going to go with one of the other two.
Yeah, some of the arguments that I've seen, obviously you have the monorail going through the hotel. Very unique, very different. Can't say that about the other hotels. But the other parts that I think somebody likes, a lot of people like about the contemporary is that it's not as spread out as the Grand Floridian and the Polynesian are, to the sense that you have to walk outside to get to your room. For most of those rooms, I believe, you have to walk out of the main buildings without cover, sort of. So if it's raining, you're getting wet. To where
if
contemporary, hop up to your room, you're good.
And that's going to happen with those other ones. Contemporary, if you want the hotel feel, if you want to feel like you're in like a hotel, sure.
Hotel, sure. Yeah, and that's some of the arguments that I've seen. Obviously, there's some other unique aspects there, but we'll save those for an actual contemporary debate at some point.
Because I don't even want to start talking about the pool at contemporary when we have two amazing pools with the Grand Floridian and the Polynesian.
Tell me about the pools. Tell me about the pools, my friend. How I would assume
I know
if anybody's going to win at a pool, I would assume that you'd probably have to give the favor to the Polynesian.
I mean, the Polynesian pool is kind of world class as far as one of the Disney pools go, right? They have the grotto, they have a great slide, they have a lot of cool aspects to their pool. And again, you have a lot of that tropical shrubbery and the bushes that makes you feel like you're chilling here, and it's just a really interesting it's very unique. They have kind of that volcano in the middle, which is very cool. So a lot of cool aspects of that pool. Again, I'm not going to trash either pool because I like both of them. I think the Grand Floridian, they have that kind of like, well, I mean, I think so does this one too, but the Grand Floridian has that like grand, big open walk-in design.
Yeah.
Which I think is great. Both of these probably would be in my top pools at Disney World. I don't think they touch the beach and yacht club pool with the sand bottom. I don't think a lot of pools can do that necessarily. That traditionally is, but I think both pools are really good. I still like the Polynesian. I think that's like the most attempted snuck in pool in Disney World. But I don't know if that's a real fact. I believe I've heard something like that.
One would assume, right? One would just assume that that's a real thing. I've heard some really good things about the Grand Floridian pool set, but it doesn't seem as
it's still a nice
fun.
pool, but it's just not for I mean, for like a family, for a 30-year-old guy.
Mm.
It's
He's
yeah,
choosing the Polynesian,
but I'm going to Polynesian. I'm jumping into that.
I think
think
I can give you that point all day. Like you're saying, very
yeah,
comparable, but I think the extra level of theming that
I
Polynesian
think it
has
helps.
does
I think
kind of
it
give it the
definitely
point.
helps the like the
Yeah.
fact that they can theme a pool very easily to the Polynesian gives it that one. Whereas the Grand Floridian is just like it's
Nobody
a
wants
huge
a
pool, but
Victorian pool. Like that's not a thing people have been dreaming about for
Yeah.
years. The
Not,
Polynesian island pool is hipper. Oh man,
it happens to be. It happens to be.
Man,
The
makes sense.
so food wise,
Talk to me about food. I have seen a lot of options for different food. If you want some of the more, I would say, not that I'm going to say that either of these aren't elegant dining, but it feels like you have the Polynesian flair over at the Polynesian, obviously, and then you have sort of a more elevated, higher class. And that's a good thing and a bad thing depending on how you want it. Sort of,
it definitely is more of a this is
traditional
your
chef sort of cooking. I'm sure a foodie will school me on what it might actually be called, but
yeah.
two very different, I think, sets of cuisine at both resorts.
No,
Yeah.
for sure. Yeah, I have you have the Victorian Alberts, right?
Yeah.
Traditionally like the most expensive restaurant in Disney.
On property. Yeah.
And what is it, 500 a person?
That sounds about right. I know I've watched a bunch of videos where it's sort of changed, and I would imagine it's probably just still going up and up.
300 a person. And then if you want
It's actually
alcohol,
not bad when we're talking about $500. Let's do it.
well, if you want to add the wine pairing with it, you got to spend an extra 150.
Fair enough.
But if you actually, the 10 course is 375 plus 200 for the company wine. So it's regardless, it's not a cheap place to eat.
Yeah, not even a little.
Granted, it's a 10 course menu. That's
still, those courses are going to be the size of a thimble. So
yeah, they may be the size of a thimble, and it's really funny you say that because I have a thimble in my hand right now.
Oh, look at you!
Isn't that weird?
Yeah, you just playing with a thimble just because?
I don't know.
Sometimes it helps during these episodes to fidget with something. So if a thimble's your thing, go for it.
Do you even have a thimble? Do you think you have a thimble at home?
I don't. You know what? The only thimble we may have is like in a game of Monopoly, but that's probably it.
Maybe.
That's probably it.
I don't know how to use the thimble actually, and I don't really sew, so I don't think it matters. Okay. Stop. But Victorian Albert's very, very expensive, but you do have it. I mean, that is, I think, an iconic part of the Grand Floridian is this like over the top, extremely expensive. You need to dress up in like a suit to get in there.
Yeah, you're not coming in with like bathing suit shorts on and some, a little bit of sunscreen on your nose.
No,
you're definitely
not
grooming yourself, looking spiffy. Where I don't know what level if they would turn you away at the Polynesian, but it seems like those island vibes are there, man. You could walk in with a nice bathing suit.
I don't think they would. So the Polynesian has a restaurant which is a lot cheaper than Victorian Albert's, but still it costs a fair amount of money. It's the family style restaurant Ohana. Ohana really, and I know everyone knows about Ohana. It was very much so and still is like a destination eatery. I mean, people go there to eat at Ohana. From what I've heard in recent years, is that it's kind of fallen off a little bit as far as quality goes.
Know that.
I think it's still, Katie ate there a couple months ago, and I think she still said it was awesome and great.
I would imagine.
Yeah. I mean, I don't really think it has the same level that it used to be for whatever that's worth. Like I said, I can't speak on that too much. But they have other places to eat there too, obviously, just like Grand Floridian does. Specifically at the Polynesian, the to-go food is really nice. You can get the pork sandwich. I get noodles there all the time when I'm down there. So there are some good places, but food be darned. I think the best eat/drink place in the Polynesian is the elusive Trader Sam's.
Trader Sam's is a very, very tough one to argue against. I can't, I think that there is a somewhat comparable experience over, I say comparable, but there is an experience that you could argue over at Grand Floridian with the speakeasy sort of semi Beauty and the Beast themed.
The Enchanted Rose.
Yeah, the Enchanted Rose. But it's just not the level of Trader Sam's. I think that spot is pretty iconic.
Yeah, and is Enchanted Rose, are you able to walk up to Enchanted Rose?
I'm not sure if you are. I know that a lot of people have referenced it as a secret speakeasy, so there might be something else that you have to do. It might be reservation only. I'm not sure how difficult all of that is.
I don't know. I don't know if it's that challenging to get into, or if it's just like a lounge like the Dahlia Lounge at Coronado where you can just walk in and get in.
Yeah.
But Trader Sam's is very challenging to get in because you need to get on that wait list, and you can be waiting hours just to sit down. But we've talked about this. We like a tiki bar.
A tiki bar is one of my favorite things ever.
It's fun. It's fun. What is more fun than a tiki bar? Hawaiian shirts, tiki cups, little umbrellas in your drink,
tiki cups,
excessive amounts of alcohol in your painkiller or Hurricane.
That's true. Be careful which tiki drink you order. Do not order something like a zombie or some of the other just monstrous concoctions that you can get. I'm not sure as to what level Trader Sam's is, and if they're a little lighter on those pours. I would imagine, though, opting for a more flavorful and tasty drink than a just disgusting and gross drink that I have had
for
at
some people.
tiki bars.
That's both. You know, you can get both.
I get it. That's fair. Trader Sam's, though, just a next level experience that I don't think is really rivaled by many other places on Disney property. I'm trying to think of something else that is as just kind of as unique and as fun, as interactive as Trader Sam's is. Anywhere else, you could maybe argue something like Oga's or some of the other, dining experiences that you can have at the parks, but definitely off.
For bars go, as far as like fun bars. Yeah, I mean, I really don't think there's a lot of fun bars in Disney. Not to say there isn't, right?
Sure.
And we've gone to many of them, and we were just talking about doing the karaoke at the Swan and Dolphin.
Going back,
But yeah, I mean, as far as like Disney though, like Disneyfied bars, there's really not a lot of options where you get that level of interaction, that fun, kind of cast member playing along type of environment for a bar, which is fun, and that's that makes a tiki bar is having the that interaction, I think. So that's it's cool. I think again that's kind of unparalleled that any of the other bars are on that monorail ride there.
I would agree.
Definitely not a lot of options like at the Contemporary. And what is that bar there at the Contemporary?
I was going to ask you if they even had one because I don't know.
They have a bar. It's like it's right next to Chef Mickey's. It's not really
interesting placement. Throwing it next to Chef Mickey's, one of the most just like family friendly.
And this is just like a walk up bar here. Geez,
it's just throwing more shade at the Contemporary, which has kind of been a running theme.
Yeah, I hate to do it. The Outer Rim.
It's called the Outer Rim?
The Outer Rim. Yeah,
interesting move that they would have a bar named the Outer Rim, naming Star Wars drinks an Outer Rim. I mean, it's a space term, right? But like space themed at the Contemporary, like it makes sense, but it also doesn't make sense. This is for another debate for another day, but
it's neat. You get like a nice view, but it's definitely not even.
Doesn't come close to Trader Sam's. I think some of
that's a given, but not even any other place. Honestly, you're better off at You can't even compare it to the walk-up bar at Polynesian. You can't compare it to
Okay.
even the to-go drinks at the Polynesian. You can't even compare it to the gift shop to get the Copa di Vino at the Grand Floridian.
Yep. Yeah.
I'd rather just do those things. But you know what? In all fairness, if you're drinking around the monorail, you're still drinking here because you have to. If
you
you're
gotta
not wanting
stop
to get
there.
a Bud Light at the gift shop, you're getting a drink here, and I do. And I when I'm here, I feel like this is a martini bar kind of place.
Mhm.
So I get a dirty martini when I'm at the Outer Rim. That's my
Okay.
drink there. When I'm drinking around the
The monorail.
monorail, I'm
Yeah.
getting a dirty martini because
It fits
feels
the
right.
vibe.
It feels right.
That's something that I feel like you got to do if you are going around the monorail loop, either eating your way through it, drinking your way through it, or both. Like getting the overly themed thing for that spot, I think makes sense, right? You're not just going to walk in, grab yourself a Jack and Coke at every one of these bars, enjoy it, immerse yourself into what they have to offer. I think
Yep.
that's the best play.
And you can, but it's just not that fun.
Yeah.
It's just not that fun.
So at the end of the day, it's hard for me to argue against Trader Sam's. It's just nobody has that level of theming, level of technology. You know, the show aspect of it, I think, is something that's just incredible. It's something that's on the list.
Yeah,
of,
I think
for every Disney adult,
the Polynesian is definitely the best place to drink. I don't think you can argue as far as drink that this is your spot, right? When it comes to drinking around, not only do you have the option of Trader Sam's, but just getting a drink in general. You can if you want to drink out of a pineapple, you can get a drink out of pineapple. I like tropical drinks. I like pina coladas. I like
others,
sex on the beach. I like a lot of rum drinks. We talked about the Hurricane, man. But
I like your thing. That's true.
Yeah, I like tropical drink. I think it's fun that you can get tropical drinks there, and you can also get a Dole Whip, which there's not a lot of places you can get a Dole Whip.
Honestly, it's very, very important. It's one of those things that I feel like, again, as much as Trader Sam's is like, not that a Dole Whip is like a bucket list thing, but it's like, it's just one of these iconic things that if you are a Disney adult, if you're a Disney fan, or if you're just popping down to live, to be a Disney adult for 1 week and 1 week of your life only, getting a Dole Whip is one of the highest of high things.
And next time we get a Dole Whip, you'll probably eat the whole thing now that you know
I
that
know
it's not dairy.
Yes, dairy-free, because last time had to make sure that I ticked that off the list in recent years, because I think I might have had one as a kid, but I haven't had one at Disney extremely long time. Only had a little bit because I was a little worried about ruining the rest of our Magic Kingdom day. But oh baby, I'm gonna order so many Dole Whips from here on out. It did suck because I literally threw it away. And then we had looked it up online the minute after.
And
so
I feel like I kind of knew that there was no dairy. I feel like that was something that I didn't know. But regardless, you didn't finish it and it's in the trash. And
I didn't want to take the chance.
Yeah, we got to get a new one. But
it's delicious. It's incredible. I can't wait to go back. I definitely want to grab one at the Polynesian next time we head down there. Or the time after, and then the time after that, and the time after that. There's no. It's such a great opportunity.
Definitely be getting there for sure. So
yeah, the monorail loop I think is just something extra special. Both of these hotels
definitely
are very, very great. As much as we're talking about taking shots at the Contemporary, I think that it's a very unique hotel. It's something to at least drive through, like you're saying, maybe stop, get a martini to complete the cycle.
It's still not. It's a cool. It's still a really cool place. And if you haven't been there, which most people have, but I feel like that are listening to this. But if you haven't been there, it's still a piece of Disney history that I think is important to kind of live out there. So
yeah.
Speaking of history, do you remember what history happened at Polynesian? Making, I think, is the most historical.
I know that there is a Beatles thing. John Legend. I'm sure he stayed there at some point. He wrote "Let It Be," which Paul wrote, right? Yeah. John Lennon did something there. Is that where he got the news that the Beatles were breaking up, or that's where they signed the papers or something? Is that what
That's
happened
where
there?
he signed the paperwork that broke the Beatles up
Yes.
at the Polynesian.
I remember hearing this, and it honestly feels weird. I don't know why, but John Lennon and the Polynesian, like John Lennon and the Disney resorts, just like, they don't seem like they mesh.
No.
There's some disconnect. If you told me Paul was there signing papers like with Mickey, I'd be like, that totally tracks. John Lennon at the Polynesian seems strange.
Yeah, it does seem strange, and I believe you can stay at the room that actually happened, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay, is that like a thing? You gotta pay a crazy upcharge
I don't
for the Beatle
actually
room?
know how you do that.
I will. You know what? They just tell you that that's the room. They go.
They probably
yes.
tell you every room. This was the room.
Oh yes, that's the one. Yep. Mm-hmm.
But isn't that? Yeah, he just decided he was in Florida. He was a Polynesian. He's having his time at Disney, and he's like, let's just sign these papers.
I think it makes sense. There's so many people who travel down there for a week and then just say, you know what, I'm quitting my job. I'm moving down to Florida full time. Like, it's happening.
I guess so.
It happens to the best of us, or that's at least the dream, right? That would be the dream for most people, to be able to stay at the Polynesian and then just like quit their job.
Yeah.
In that same time period.
And then you definitely can't afford to stay there much longer.
No. You were barely able to afford it with your nice paying, high paying job, not after you quit. A few other things that aren't necessarily the biggest thing to many people, but definitely mean a lot on my end as a wedding musician, as a wedding entertainer. You have the wedding chapel is at the Grand Floridian, and the Grand Floridian is very tied into a lot of Disney weddings. I know that there's like tons and tons and tons of options, but
I mean, this is, I think if you're getting married in Disney, this is where you're going to get married at the chapel. A lot of
people, it's a very classic, the classic Disney wedding happens there. I think that it's just an extra cool thing that fits that vibe really well. I do know that people got married at the Polynesian, and there's tons of options around Disney property, but there is just something elegant and special about that. And if you really want that sort of like fairy tale experience, I don't think there's anything greater than the Grand Floridian to match that.
It's also not it's not cheap, of course, but it's not terribly expensive, surprisingly. I mean, you are not going to have a huge wedding here, but not terribly expensive. I also think if you're getting married there, and I don't know if this is 100% right, but I believe you can have actual weddings during the day there. Whereas if you get married in like a park, which that is a whole different ballgame, you need to get married at like 5 a.m.
Yes.
And you need to get, so I'd rather, enjoy my wedding and not be very tired.
Yeah, it's interesting to see those weddings at the actual parks, and like when they have to like work around things to make those happen. That would be a completely unique experience, but to have a more traditional,
totally cool, very interesting,
day
but
to
also
evening wedding, you're doing it at the Grand Floridian.
And you can do that. I don't know how many weddings they can do in a day there. I definitely think it's more than one.
I would imagine for most spots, and it depends on what other sort of facilities that they have and what other people book.
Yeah.
But as far as the chapel goes, you could, in theory, turn them out fairly often, but you'd imagine 2 to 3 in a day would probably be the most. But you're going to be probably paying a higher fee for the later option, the more close to a reasonable dinner time option. So
it is.
It would be interesting.
It is pretty incredible, though. I don't know if you've been. I've been inside the chapel a couple times. I don't know if you've had the chance to get inside there.
I've seen it a lot, and I have toyed with actually going on the tour down there to go check it out.
You can just walk in too. It's just open too, and they have usually a person there kind of talking about weddings, of course. But you can just walk in there if there's no wedding going on and look. But it really is beautiful. I'm sure you've like you said, you've seen inside, you've seen pictures, but to have that view of the castle like straight through that window is really
insane,
remarkable.
Like it's incredible.
That's the design, absolutely beautiful. But you're right. I mean that's a very cool aspect of the Grand Floridian. It's elegant. It screams wedding. It's beautiful. It really is.
It's just one of the, I don't want to say few unique things that the Grand Floridian has, but when we're comparing these hotels, there's a lot of comps to everything else. And I think that's the one thing there's not really a comp for at any of the other, monorail resorts. Definitely at the Polynesian. Who knows? Maybe they're building a Polynesian wedding chapel right now, and I have no knowledge of
They
that.
could be. They could be.
But I would check it out nonetheless. Definitely want to check that out. Being a part of the wedding
Yeah.
industry is very neat. Probably not the biggest tick on most people's things, but if you want that classic fairy tale Disney wedding, Grand Floridian's your option. And like honestly, if you're not paying too much to have the actual wedding there, save a few bones for a night over staying at the Grand Floridian. I think that would be a great idea. Then you can stay at Pop Century or wherever you decide after that. But,
Yes.
that would be funny. Like we spent all the money on the one night over there and we're just going to all star it for the next like week and a half. Hey, can't blame you for doing that. I think it's a smart move. So
no. Another aspect I think is cool. The Polynesian is the option to say they're not easy to get, but the bungalows.
Yes, the bungalows are very interesting.
The bungalows set up similar to the Bora Bora vibe, right? Well, I think they're called the Bora Bora bungalows.
Yeah.
But they're very those are really cool. We've been talking about with family trying to stay there at some point. I believe they have that like the hot tub in the back, if I'm not mistaken, too.
That's sweet.
But they are very cool. And if you can get your family kind of in there, and everyone gets a spot, those would be a really cool place to vacation. You kind of have your own little private house. Depends how close you want to be with your family, but definitely a unique aspect of the Polynesian as far as room options.
Yeah, something that maybe doesn't appeal to everybody. How close everybody is. Every group is at a different resort for some families. That's fine, but yeah, if you can manage to pull that off, like very very cool, and definitely potentially even worth like how many park days do you really want to do when you have that experience? Like it would be few, to be honest. Maybe a little bit, but like I'd want to be spending my time all day in those.
I would be hanging out at the resort and enjoying the resort. And I do love enjoying the resorts. I think that's a big thing we talk about and we've talked about is actually spending more time. And I think that's more of a Disney adult Disney person kind of thing.
Absolutely.
Is enjoying the resorts more so than the parks all the time. Some people are still, they need to be in the parks and they need to be doing the parks all the time.
The parks are great, but
they are. I don't need to be there all the time.
Yeah.
Still, and I really like the option. Granted, when you live down here, it's a little bit different too.
Fair enough.
If you're coming down, if you're flying here, you might want to be in the park all the time. But I personally like enjoying it. I like taking it slower when I'm in Disney because I have that option. I don't need to be going go all the time. I don't need to be rope dropping and staying there until fireworks. I can pop in for a couple hours, go back to the hotel, go back out afterwards. So I feel like that's a specific luxury that people that live close might have.
Yeah, people that live close or people who attend often, you're probably more likely to do that. But even being the once in a blue moon family that we were, there was always a hotel day built in. And if you're not impressed by your resort, like you have other options like downtown and other places to go.
And
resort hopping. So but I definitely think that spending a day at the resort is a great way to just make your dollar bills go farther, and just take in everything.
I think it is. And these are great resorts to do that at. I will say, I think if you're not having a resort day for one, or if you don't really anticipate spending a lot of time at these resorts, I can't really, unless you have money to blow, I don't really see why you'd want to stay at these specific resorts.
No, I agree with you 100%. For people, unless this is a nothing experience for you and this is just the norm level of hotel you're staying at anyway, sure. But like, and even sometimes there's arguments for moderate resorts where like don't even book Port Orleans because it's too expensive. Stay at an All-Star, stay at a Pop Century or somewhere else. So totally, these resorts I think you're going to want to spend some time at. And there's enough to do on those specific aspects of the Disney property that you're not going to be bored. There's no way.
No.
Yeah.
Yep.
No
Yeah, no,
way.
you definitely won't. And again, resort hopping is always one of the more fun things to do. So
It's a great way to spend a day.
it is, and these three, the trifecta here they make it very easy to do that.
Yes. Yes. All right. I'm just going to throw out my last and final point, and it's the obvious one, but Grand Floridian is the Grand Hotel. It was always envisioned as the flagship hotel on the Disney property. If I'm going to throw out one thing that's going to say that Grand Floridian is the best of all things, it is that this was the intent to be the flagship, to
Yeah.
be the number one. And I do think that it holds its own in that regard. I think that it is valued in that way. I think that people view it in that way, in that as much as these two hotels are very on par with each other,
Mm-hmm.
I think that there is, even just by the slightest bit, people are going to be holding a stay at the Grand Floridian maybe just a touch higher than the Polynesian. It's a little bit of a status thing, even, right?
Yeah, I
Saying that
mean,
you stayed at the Grand Floridian. He didn't want to stay there, so
John
it
Lennon
doesn't
didn't.
matter.
So
All right, well, my argument's
let's
moved
take
then.
that for what that's worth.
All right,
But
done
yeah, I
deal.
mean,
I'm going to look up all the celebrities that have ever stayed at the Grand Floridian just to try to like one up you, man.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think, and I really don't know. I definitely know that, if you're a celebrity, I think those are generally your considered options,
Sure.
right? But I believe the Four Seasons is probably the more likely one to have. It's not a Disney
Fair.
hotel, but it's still a Disney-ish,
Yeah.
Granted, that's like a $2,000 a night hotel. So that's
it's even a different echelon than these are.
Yeah, I mean these are nice, but you can still get there every now and then, right?
Yeah.
But that one you really can't. But yeah, I mean, no, you're right. And this is the Disney hotel. There's a reason that it is the Grand Floridian Hotel. I think
Yes.
it's even, not that I've been there and I don't want to talk about what I don't know, but compared to what I know about the Grand Californian,
Yeah.
I think this is far more beautiful. I think it is more picturesque. I think it looks nicer inside. It gives you that,
screams
again,
classic
old Florida
Disney
vibe.
Yeah.
No,
it
for sure.
screams very classic Disney. It fits something like the Magic Kingdom very well. It goes hand in hand with that. And I think that is the benefit of it, that it feels very specific to a place like Disney World, where the Polynesian you might hold in higher regard because it is a little more themed in a different way, but it isn't as Disney, if that makes sense. So
Yeah.
much Disney influence in there, of
It
course,
is
right? Like,
it is interesting. Yeah, I mean, they're definitely two. I mean, these were the two like OG hotels, right?
Yeah.
So these were the two hotels that had the idea. I mean, Grand Floridian being still the Grand Floridian, but I mean, and they've evolved over the years. They've changed very dramatically over the years to what they are today. Comparing them, I think it's hard to do. Like I said, I think you're staying there if you have the money, and especially if you have younger kids and you're going to be going to Magic Kingdom a lot, then these are probably your better options, right?
If you can afford to stay there,
if
100%.
you can afford there, other
walking distance to Magic Kingdom. I think is Polynesian in walking distance as well.
It is.
Yeah.
And this is fairly new, where you don't need to take the monorail. They have the walkway to Grand Floridian, and then Grand Floridian is right next to Polynesian. You can walk over there. Right now, I believe that is closed as they're doing the renovations.
Okay. Yep.
As of this day, but
in
prior to that and after that, they're not. And then the Contemporary, of course, you can walk to now as well. I think you always may have. I actually don't know that 100%.
I believe Contemporary is the closest to Magic Kingdom, if I'm not mistaken. Then I think it's Grand Floridian and then Polynesian. But it's like a 12-minute or so walk from what I've heard from at least Grand Floridian.
It's a nice walk. Me and Katie choose to walk most of the time when we're able to, rather than ride the monorail over, just because it's a nice walk along the water, and it's just really, really pretty walk. You're walking in a very nice area.
The whole area is very, very nice.
You got the monorail to your right, like riding alongside you, kind of. So it's really cool. Really cool.
definitely a like picturesque sort of Disney experience right there in the heart of it all. If you're like a Magic Kingdom person, I think these are great options. If you're, Epcot people, there's some other options that maybe don't match the sort of high end scale that these, two or
Yeah.
three do, but every
I
park
think
has their set of hotels.
sure. I think they still put up a good fight. They're close. If you're talking about Epcot, of course, the again Yacht and Beach, and then the Boardwalk, of course.
Boardwalk, yeah.
But yeah, I mean, they're different resorts for different people for different intentions.
Yeah, I think at the end of the day, I think that's what it really comes down to. What sort of experience, or at least between these two, what sort of experience are you looking for? How far you want your theming to go, and honestly, just what the hotels smell like. Right, two very different scents.
What do they smell like?
Magic Candle Company, baby. If you want to get some of those scents, make sure to use our code DEBATE. That was just a cheap plug before we wrap up. But Chris, you got anything else to argue on before we kind of shut this down? Because I think that was my last big Grand Floridian, the hotel of hotels.
I got no heavy hitters right now.
Yeah.
I think we've gone through it. Like you said, I think we got to come back to this at some point. We got to do a night there. I'm
sure there are people right now who are screaming, who have been to both, who have stayed the night at both, who have had the full experience of just how many things that were missing, how many nuances that were missing of these hotels, and it would be great to sort of revisit this.
I'll be honest with you, it's also been a few months since I've even been down to both of those.
Yeah.
So, I'll let you know this weekend if there's anything we missed.
Definitely.
When I'm doing the monorail run. So
yes,
I will. I'll keep that in mind. But yeah, we'll come back to this. We'll stay. We'll come back to it, and I think we'll have a little bit more of something to say here.
Yeah, we're gonna do definitely an in-depth. We will raise the funds. We're gonna get on GoFundMe. We're gonna spend a night at all three of those monorail hotels and just see what it's like to share a monorail hotel room with your best bud. Right, that'll be fun.
Well,
separate beds,
maybe separate
maybe.
rooms too. We'll see what happens.
Separate rooms.
We'll see what happens.
Double the GoFundMe, baby. We're gonna make this thing happen. Thank you guys for joining us on this exploration of these two hotels we have technically never stayed at, but we have spent probably more time than some people who have actually stayed at have spent there. And we are going to
that's a
continue
possibility.
To do that. Yeah,
that's a possibility.
Right? And just hanging out in the lobby, just alone.
I have a lot of videos to prove it too. So a lot of unfortunate videos of myself. So
and I'm sure a lot of
Well, we'll come back to this one for sure. I want to. So. I think we'll maybe add in the contemporary and do all three of them next time.
I think that's a good idea.
We have some options here, so we'll come back to it.
Let us know what you guys think of both of these hotels, both the Grand Floridian and the Polynesian Hotel. Which one do you guys prefer? Which scent do you guys prefer? Which one of these bars or restaurants is your favorite? And just what is your favorite item to snack on when you're at either of these spots? Because there's some good options there. If you guys want to participate in the polls that we're going to be putting up about the Grand Floridian and the Polynesian, make sure to follow us on Instagram at Diz or That Pod. That's DIS, Diz or That Pod. You can also follow us on TikTok, same username, Diz or That Pod. You can also check us out if you're listening to this podcast. You can check out the video versions of this podcast over on YouTube. Make sure to subscribe to us over there as we're trying to grow and build that community. So all of the podcast listeners, if you want to see these lovely faces, head on over there. And if you'd rather just not look at this ugly mug and you just want to listen to it, hop on to any of your favorite podcasting apps. I'm pretty sure we're on just about all of them. That will do it for us here at the happiest debate on earth. Thank you all for joining us. We'll see you next time.
Boom.
This podcast was brought to you by the Magic Candle Company. Relive your favorite theme park memories through the magical sense of smell. Receive 15% off at checkout by using discount code DEBATE and help our channel in the process.